If you're experiencing tightness or perceived tension or just a lack of mobility or range of motion within your mid or upper back, there's a couple of things we can consider and also exercises we can choose to best restore movement and get relief from the tightness we might be experiencing there. If you're experiencing tightness or just a lack of mobility or range of motion within your mid or upper back area, there's a couple of things we can consider and exercises we can choose to help resolve the issue long term. As I've mentioned in other videos in the past, it's very important for this shoulder blade to be able to move and glide freely on the back rib cage. But there's a couple of muscles that attach on the scapula and also the spine that like to restrict movement from the scapula moving on the spine and pull it together closer to the spine to compress it. An example of muscles that like to pull the scapula together closer to the spine are the rhomboids and traps. And when they're very tight, they pull the scapula inward like this, which prevents the scapula from then being able to glide and move into upward rotation because it's stuck at this downwardly rotated state. We need upward rotation for a lot of actions, specifically things like overhead flexion or overhead mobility. So if we have a restriction in the ability to upwardly rotate our scapula due to compression of tissues pulling the scapula closer to the spine, then we're not going to be able to access a huge range of motion necessary at our scapula. So in order to facilitate the elongation of those tissues and to best place them in the position to do so, we need to think about rotating our trunk to one direction or the other and also breathing into that position. To help visualize that, imagine that there is an arrow going out the back of every single segment of your spine. So they're all pointing out that way. Now, if I were to turn my trunk to the right, you can see how the arrows, the spinous processes, are now pointing to the left. So if I reach my arm forward, my right arm forward on top of that with my trunk going to the right, therefore my spine going to the left, I'm going to bring my scapula this way into internal rotation. And I'm also going to be spreading my spine away from my scapula. So my scapula is going to be pulled this way with my spine going the other way. You can see how that would elongate all the tissues that attach on this inner edge of the scapula here and also the spine, like the rhomboids and the traps. Now that is going to shorten those muscles on the other side, but that's important because we're going to be elongating those tissues on the side that we're trying to target. And if we feel like we need to do this on both sides, then we can just do the exercise on both sides and we would still get a great outcome. You can also just feel this right now. So take your elbow and reach it forward. And then what I want you to think about doing is keep that elbow pressing forward, but pull your trunk into the same side. So rotate your trunk to the right if your right elbow is ahead and keep pushing it forward. You should feel a stretch in your upper back on the right side. That's exactly what we're going for there. Now take an inhale on top of that. You'll feel a stretch in your upper back, and that's great. That's exactly what we're going for. So we're placing the muscle in an elongated position and then breathing on top of that, which will help further facilitate the spreading of that scapula and allow for us to get an even better stretch. I use these upcoming two exercises with my clients quite a bit, and I get a lot of very positive results from them because they place that scapula and spine in a position which allows us to get that expansion in between the shoulder blades and our mid and upper back. Find a cable attachment that's comfortable and you can wrap around your elbow. And then make sure you keep your elbow at no more than about a 60-ish degree angle from your trunk. So it shouldn't come up too high. And then notice how I'm going to turn my trunk to the left and actively try to pull that left pec away from my elbow. The weight is pulling me forward, which I'm allowing that elbow to come forward, but the trunk rotation to the left creates a stretch in my left upper back. Make sure that you're really turning into it to feel that stretch. That's good. And then inhale through your nose deeply as you go down, leaning on your front heel. And exhale through your mouth as you come up. Place a cable machine on a high setting or just attach a band to something that's tall and place that band high on it. And then get a double underhand grip on that rope attachment or the band. Place your outside foot forward in the split stance position and then focus on turning your trunk and pelvis into that front side leg. You want to keep the angle of the reach low here with slightly unlocked elbows. So notice how I'm turning into it. That's going to give me some front leg adductor or inner thigh and also obliques or side abs on that same side. And I'll also feel a stretch in the opposite side upper back. So to summarize, I'm going to be feeling my right inner thigh, my right obliques here, and a stretch in my left upper back. Hold that as you exhale through your mouth to feel your obliques even more, and then pause with your mouth closed. Inhale on top of that, and you should feel an even greater stretch in your upper back. Just make sure here you're not maximally cranking and turning into it. We don't want this to be a max strength exercise, so make sure that you're doing it with moderate intensity.